Hi guys, we are going to go over our reading assignment together. Today is a skill day and we are going to be talking about comparing and contrasting. So I want you to first think about what are you doing when you compare things? So obviously you're finding ways that they are similar. What are you doing when you are contrasting things? You are thinking about ways that things are different. Okay, so I want you to open up your reading textbook with me to page 547 and 548. So this is at the very back of your book. This is the index. We are going to find some authors and look at two different stories and compare and contrast them. So I want you to look back at the back of your textbook in the index, and you're going to look up Michael Dees and Gavin Maxwell. Okay, so find those authors and then find the stories. It should have the page number there. You can pause me if you need to, if you need a few more seconds. So that is going to be page 250 and 261. And these are two stories about otters. Do you remember these stories? I love those stories about otters. So we are going to think of ways that these stories are similar. We're going to think of ways that these stories are different. We're going to compare and contrast them, okay? So what ways can you think of that these stories compare? How are they alike? Think back to these stories. So both of these stories talk about how otters are fun-loving. They have a great nature about them. Both talk about how otters could be a possible pet. I remember we even talked about that in class. Who wants a pet otter? I do. I don't have a swimming pool though. If you had a swimming pool, maybe you could live in your swimming pool. And then they talk also about the otter's diet. So those are ways that they compare, that they are alike, but how are they different? So right off the bat, one is fiction and one is nonfiction. So obviously very different. One has characters and a plot and the other doesn't. One is written more to entertain you. One is written to inform you. One is funny, one is serious. So those are ways that they are different, ways that they contrast. Okay, we're gonna look at another story. So go back to your index and I want you to find the author or authors, David McCord and Alfred, and then Lord Tennyson. I'll give you a second, you can pause me to find those. That is on pages 230 and 298. These are both poems. So both these men wrote poetry. So how are they alike? How are they similar? So both are about something in nature. Both of these poems are very descriptive. Both have 3 stanzas that end with rhyming words. So when looking and comparing these, we can notice all of these things. And what about contrasting? What differences do you see? So one's much shorter than the other. That's something that you could pick up on right away. One is about a living thing, the other is about a non-living thing. Okay, so here are some things that you need to think about whenever you are trying to notice comparing and contrasting. One is going to be the words that you see the author use. So if you are making comparisons, you might use a simile, which includes the words like and as, or you might also see the word to, T-O-O, to, or the word also. Okay, what about if things are different, if they're contrasting? The author may use the word however, but, or although. So here's a little exercise we're going to do before we get to the workbooks. I want you to listen to the sentences that I'm going to read. I want you to identify the word that it uses. such as some of the ones I just read to you, like as or however. And then I want you to determine what it is comparing or contrasting, okay? So the first sentence, say, Tony sure knows a lot about shells. Why, I guess he knows just about as much as Gramps does. So the word that they use is as, and the comparison is between Tony and Gramps. Here's another one. Early lighthouses reduced the number of accidents, but it wasn't until Thomas Edison invented the light bulb that lighthouses became really effective. So the word but, and then they are contrasting light bulb and other methods of lighting lighthouses. So it doesn't exactly tell you, this one's a little bit harder to pick up on because it's contrasting, but you're like, wait, what is it contrasting? Because I heard the light bulbs part, but it's talking about before the light bulbs were invented by Thomas Edison. Well, how were the lighthouses lit then? Maybe not as well, right? Okay, let's skip down to this one. Long ago, boats began carrying lighthouse keepers to the mainland, but now motorboats can take them there much faster. So again, using that same word, but, and then it's contrasting motorboats and boats of long ago. Okay, so now you are ready to go over to workbook pages 226 and 227. 226, you're going to see 2 journal entries. You're going to read those journal entries and then you're going to answer the questions on page 227. Now, when you go to turn these in, I don't need page 226. It's just stories that you're going to be reading. So make sure that you are just sending me the page 227. That is all that I need to see. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions and hope you enjoy comparing and contrasting.